कुंज बिहारी जय कुंज बिहारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय राधा माधव जय गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी 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 यशोदानंदन व्रज जन यशोदानंदन व्रज जन यशोदानंदन व्रज जन यशोदानंदन व्रज जन रंजन यमुना तीरा वनचारी यमुना तीरा वनचारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय कुंज बिहारी जय गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी यशोदानंदन व्रज जन यशोदानंदन व्रज जन जमुना तीरा वनचारी जमुना तीरा यमुना तीरा वनचारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी कुंज बिहारी ओम ज्ञानातिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरुन् वैष्णवंश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगणा रघुनाथवितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपदान् सहगण ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितंश्च हे कृष्णा करुणा सिन्धो दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिकान्त राधाकान्ता नमोऽस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी विश्वानुसुत देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्यैव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामिनिति नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषा शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देश तारिणे श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे Hare Krishna. So we are today at 16th chapter, first canto, 16th chapter, and text 18. धर्मः प्रपदकेन चरणः विच्छायामुपलभ्य गाम पृच्छति स्माश्रुद्वदनां विवत्सामेव मातरम्. Dharma, the personality of religious principles. Pada, leg, a cane on one only. Charan, wandering. Vichayam, overtaken by the shadow of grief. Upalabdhya, having met. Gam, the cow. Prichati, sma, asked. Ashru, vadanam, with tears on the face. Vivatsam, one who has lost her offspring. Eva, like. Mataram, the mother. Now the translation. The personality of religious principles, Dharma, was wandering about in the form of a bull, and he met the personality of earth in the form of a cow, who appeared to grieve like a mother who had lost her child. She had tears in her eyes, and the beauty of her body was lost. Thus, Dharma cautioned the earth as follows. So, purport. The bull is the emblem of the moral principle, and the cow is the representative of the earth. When the bull and the cow are in a joyful mood, it is to be understood that the people of the world are also in joyful mood. The reason is that the bull helps production of grain in the agricultural field, and the cow delivers milk, the miracle of aggregate food values. The human society therefore maintains these two important animals very carefully so that they can wander everywhere in cheerfulness. But at the present moment, in this age of Kali, both the bull and the cow are now being slaughtered and eaten up as foodstuff by a class of men who do not know the Brahminical culture. The bull and the cow can be protected for the good of all human society simply by the spreading of Brahminical culture as the topmost perfection of all cultural affairs. By advancement of such culture, the morale of society is properly maintained, and so peace and prosperity are also attained without extraneous effort. When a Brahminical culture deteriorates, the cow and bull are mistreated, and the resultant actions are prominent by the following symptoms. So, in this verse, it says that bull is representative of dharma, and cow is a representative of earth over here. And we'll see further in next two purports as well that Prabhupada give a lot of stress to this that bull and cow, as per our scriptures as well, we have to protect bull and cow, right? Cow is like that's why in our culture we call cow as a mother and bull as kind of a father. It's like a father. So bull actually helps plow the field, and mother cow, she provides us milk, which is the basic nutrition for our life. And how this happens? They say that Brahminical. So Prabhupada again and again said the Brahminical culture. So what is this Brahminical culture? This is, one of the key ingredients of this is the cleanliness, right, and the austerities. So those, when from the Satyuga to Kali Yuga, so those qualities kind of deteriorates, right? So that's where, so in Satyuga, for example, most of the people, most of the society was Brahminical. And then slowly what happens is the number of Brahmanas, comes down. And when you say Brahmana, it's not that Brahmana who has the name Sharma in the end. That's not Brahmana. Brahmana is one who is actually following. The one who is actually following all those principles, austerities, cleanliness. So we will talk about that in further. So that is what Brahmana is. And when the from Satyuga to Treta Yuga to Dwapar Yuga to Kali Yuga, what happens is all these the Brahmanas, number of Brahmanas in the society reduce, and the other society increases. Like Kshatriyas increase in Treta Yuga a little more, and then in Dwapar Yuga, the division becomes more and more open, like Shudras and this Vaishyas. They increase more. And then in Kali Yuga, of course, there are very few Brahmanas left. And that's what the deterioration happens. That's how the deterioration happens. And when this happens, the protection of cow and bull becomes the secondary thing. It goes in the backstage. And so, we see how the arrangement of this whole world is, right? How this Kali Yuga, Satya Yuga, Dwapar Yuga, Treta Yuga, Kali Yuga, how everything deteriorates. Then God comes in. I mean, Supreme Personality of Godhead comes in, and He tries to take them through one to another. And one thing that I realized recently was that every time a Kala changes, Krishna appears in one form or another form. If you see from Satyuga to one of the lectures I was hearing this, that from Satyuga to Treta Yuga, it was Varahadev when the Hiranyakashipu and all this that. So that was actually the transition happening. That's when this happened. When they killed, after that the transition happened. And then when from Treta to Dwapara, it was Ramachandra, right? That's when. So and when it happened from Dwapar to Kali Yuga, it was Sri Krishna. So now, why does that happen in between? Why didn't he come in the beginning and just cleaned it up? Now the thing is, like in Bhagavatam, we will see, like in further cantos, we will see that what when Krishna was there, Kali was already there. He just could not come in. He could not come in because Krishna was there. That's why Kali could not just come over there. The moment Krishna went, and that you will see in, I think, in this canto, there are further stories where when Yudhishthir Maharaj is very upset because Krishna has left. Arjun had gone to go, check on Krishna, but he doesn't know that Krishna has already left, and he's already seeing the, lot of bad omens happening, and he sees that, something's not right. It seems the Kali is here, and then he, from the back of his mind, he knows that Krishna has left this world, but he doesn't want to believe that, and he's so much in pain because of that, so much in anxiety, and you will see that, in nothing. Oh, you already finished that? Okay, sorry. Okay. Oh, chapter 15 is that? Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, so yeah, so in that, so we see that. So it was already there. If just imagine if Krishna had not finished all this Kansa and demons like him, and if they would have transitioned into Kali Yuga that we are waiting for 10,000 or 20,000 years down the line, that could have come already if he wouldn't have done that. The same things, that's what the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, he does that in every yuga. He makes sure that the transition happens, and when the transition happens, it's kind of a clean slate, right? So yeah, so going forward on this one, we'll talk about the next words. Dharma vacha कचचिद्भद्रे नाम यमात्मनस्ते विच्छायासि मलायते षण्मुखेन आलक्ष्ये भवति मन्तराधिं दूरे बन्धुं शोचसि कंचनाम्ब. The meanings of each word. Dharma vacha, Dharma inquired. Kachachit, whether Bhadre, madam, Anamayam, quite haily and hurting, Atmana, self, te, unto you, Vichaya, asi, appear to be covered with the shadow of grief, Malayata, which darkens, Ishat, slightly, Mukhena, by the face, Alakshaya, you look, Bhavatim, unto yourself, Antaradhin, some disease within, Dur, long distant, Bandhum, friend, Shochasi, thinking of, Kanchana, someone, Amba, O mother. Translation, Dharma, in the form of a bull, asked, Madam, are you not hale and hearty? Why are you covered with the shadow of grief? It appears by your face that you have become black. Are you suffering from some internal disease, or are you thinking of some relative who is away in a distant place? Purport. The people of the world in this age of Kali are always full of anxiety. Everyone is diseased with some kind of ailment. From the very faces of the people of this age, one can find out the index of the mind. Everyone feels the absence of his relative who is away from home. The particular symptom of the age of Kali is that no family is now blessed to live together. To earn a livelihood, the father lives at a place far away from the son, or the wife lives far away from the husband, and so on. There are sufferings from internal diseases, separation from those near and dear, and anxieties for maintaining the status quo. These are but some important factors which make the people of this age always unhappy. So Prabhupada sums it up very well over here about in this age we have a lot of anxieties. We and as he called out, though it's written like 30 years back, but in that time also, in fact, in that time they were not too many people from India were living abroad or out of their country. It was mostly people were living within the country. But he already called out that people do not live with their family because in there also, I remember like my father, he was like for 5 6 years he was away working somewhere else where he didn't think that life for us would be good as a kid. So we were living away and he was living away. Though we were not living far away in a different countries. So that's what this age is about, and that was not a very nice time. Like 5 6 years, it was not a very nice time. There was a lot of anxiety, a lot of problems in there, and that's what Prabhupada very nicely call it out. Though in 30 40 years back, 40 50 years back, it was not that much of a, like people used to stay close, but because of this Kali Yuga, people are tend to spread out. They just either because of something what happened in Mahabharata, people do not families do not want to live together, or because of too much of work that they too much of ambitions that they have. They just move out. And other thing that I want to say, yeah, about the anxiety. Yeah, for the internal suffering, separation, anxieties, for example. So anxiety, there's so much anxiety nowadays, right? We never heard of this word when we were growing up, right? Like 20, 30 years back, like we hardly heard this word. Hardly this word was discussed or even in Hindi or English or anywhere. Now, every other person is suffering from anxiety. We are, but we are kind of progressing, right? What progress is this? This is all material progress. So materially we are progressing, but that is causing more and more anxiety, right? Never ever I thought that I would hear something like a kid killed his grandma because she would not get him a PS5. She wouldn't let him play a game. He could just kill her. It's not like a 5 years old kid. It's like a 13, 14, 15-year old kid. Like he's not a baby. But that's what anxiety does. You can't think rationally once the anxiety hits. So that's what Prabhupada very nicely calls out over here, and that's one of the main lakshanas or main things in Kali Yuga, which actually brings down like anxiety boils down to your anger as well because you don't know what you're doing. You are kind of in a different world altogether. Like as the whole world is breaking down on your head and everything will fall apart. That's the mood you are in, and then everything falls from there. Okay, next word, next verse. Is that fine for you? Yeah, okay. पादैर्नयूनं शोचसि मैकपाधमात्मानं वा विशिलैर्भुक्षयमाणम् आहोसुरादीन हितयज्ञभागान् प्रजा उत स्विन्मगवत्यवर्षति. Meaning, padah, by 3 legs, Nunam, diminished. Shochasi, if you are lamenting for that. Ma, my. Ekapadam, only 1 leg. Atmanam, own body. Va, or. Vrishila, by the unlawful meat eaters. Bhukshamanam, to be exploited. Aho, in sacrifice. Sura Adin, the authorized demigods. Hita Yajna, or Hita Yajna, devoid of sacrificial. Bhagan, share. Praja, the living beings. Utta, increasing. Swita, weather. Maghavati, in famine and scarcity. Avarashati, because of rainlessness. I have lost my 3 legs and am now standing on one only. Are you lamenting for my state of existing? Or are you in great anxiety because henceforward the unlawful meat eaters will exploit you? Or are you in a sorry plight because the demigods are now bereft of their share of sacrificial offerings because no sacrifices are being performed at present? Or are you grieving for living beings because of their sufferings due to famine and drought? Purport. With the progress of the age of Kali, 4 things particularly, namely the duration of life, mercy, the power of recollection, and moral or religious principles will gradually diminish. So I just want to take a pause on this one. So these are the qualities of Brahmanical societies, right? When you have a Brahmanical society, these are the qualities. Then there's a mercy in there. They have a power of recollection, which means memory. You have a memory enough, like these books and all. They came into being only like I think 4,000, 5,000 years ago when Vyasadevji realized that because of the effect of Kali Yuga, he already seeing that even the power of recollection or the memory power is not there anymore. Like they cannot recite, they cannot remember most of things. So that's why he divided all the there was one Veda. We all know that there was one Veda, and then he divided all them into different shakhas, different branches, and divided them into his disciples. And there was in one of the Puranas, I think in Padam Purana, it's called out like how exactly he divided them, and how there were a lot of problems there as well. But he built into very small parts and put them give it to his disciples, and those disciples then started their own sect, kind of like under those knowledge, under that knowledge. So and he realized at that time, right? And so that again comes to the same point that Kali was already there. His effects were there, but he was not able to do fully whatever he wanted to do because Krishna was there. He couldn't put his effect, put his whatever he was supposed to do in effect over there because Krishna was there. So he just kept back. Uh, so next is, since dharma or the principles of religion would be lost in the proportion of three or a four, the symbolic bull was standing on one leg only. When three-fourths of the population of the whole world becomes irreligious, the situation is converted into hell for the animals. It's again like three-fourths irreligious means like there is one irreligious, there is one Brahmanical. So Brahmanical is a little higher, and then irreligious is like you're not following exactly Brahmanical principles, but at least you're religious, you God fearing, that this is not the only life. You'll keep on repeating again and again if you don't go back to God. So that was right. Yeah. Okay. In the age of Kali, godless civilizations will create so many so-called religious societies in which the personality of Godhead will be directly or indirectly defied. And thus, fatalist societies of men will make the world in and uninhabitable for the saner section of people. There are gradations of human beings in terms of proportionate faith in the supreme personality of Godhead. Now, I'll just go back to this one. So, this sentence that Prabhupada mentioned over here, the faithless societies of men will make the world uninhabitable for the saner section of people. We already see that. We already see that. The people who are irreligious or who are more into anxiety, they actually are controlling the whole narrative over here. The people who wants to live in peace, they just want to live in peace, right? There are more people who want to live in peace, but because the people who are do not want to live in peace, right? They are more. I would say they're more. They talk more. They represent more. They come out more, and that's why you know. Yeah, they're more commanding, I would say, or so that's why all this is now that's what you see all over the place. Like it's conflicts and all because these are the people who are coming out. So there is one sect, for example, only 10% of the population is bad, but that is causing all the 90% to show as bad. So there is such examples are all over the place right now. So this is this is very well put over here in Bhagavatam. Okay, next. The first class faithful men are the Vaishnavas and the Brahmanas. Then the Kshatriyas, then the Vaishyas, then the Shudras, then Mlechas. The Yavanas, and at last the Chandalas. Right? The degradation of human instincts begins from the Mlechas. And the Chandal state of life is the last word in human degradation. All the above terms mentioned in the Vedic literatures are never meant for any particular community or birth. So this is another thing which was with with degradation, like the meanings of certain things changes, and that's what Prabhupada called out this thing again and again many times in his purports in Bhagavatam, Srimad Bhagavad Gita, everywhere that it's not on the basis of birth that you see what's happening. But if you see that, how then why we say that, someone is over here also sometimes it points out that, oh, he was born in a Vaishya family. What do you mean by Vaishya family? He was, if it's not something by birth, it's almost like if there are someone who likes to drink, right, alcohol and eat meat, he would not like to he would not like to sit with the or socialize with people like us, right, who do not drink or eat. He would not like to. He would try to be more over there. So that's how the society becomes, because these are meat eaters, drinkers, and that's how. So there will be groups. For example, if in my office, I would just take an example of my office. In my office, there will be parties, right? People are socializing with each other. Colleagues are socializing with each other. They will not call, if they are calling for drinks or meat eating. They will not call people like me, right? They will not invite me. They will, what are you going to do there? We don't want you there. And that's how. So this is a separate group. Now, if you consider that, that's how the groups might have, like, millions of years back. These are separate. Also, these guys, they, whole day and night they just call Hare Rama, Hare Krishna. I don't know what's wrong with them. We'll go and we'll have fun. So this becomes a separate. Oh, slowly. No, we don't want to live next to them. We'll build a separate community. We will do all what we want to do, and we'll have fun, right? And slowly, that's how the division happens. That's how it comes out. So if a kid is someone is born in that particular area, or in that particular society, right? Of course, what's going to learn from the beginning? Meat eating and intoxication. That from the beginning itself, yeah, it's good. This is what life is about. But once he gets in the connect with the Vaishnava, or one who is not, who's religious, that's when the change start happening. We say, oh yeah, it makes sense, and we have seen a lot. We have seen. I'm one of those, right? So it's a this is yeah, this makes sense. And then the transition happens, and that's when he says that it's not by birth. You cannot say, oh, you have taken birth over there. You are absolutely no way you can come, and you have no chance of going back to Godhead. No, that's not the case. That's what Prabhupada is trying to call out over here, and that's what people miss the point, that yes, there are communities which say, oh, this is Kshatriya community. This is, but what that means is, because kids born and brought up in there are from a mentality which is Kshatriya. Just like most of the Gujarati people, they will be like, born with a business mind, right? But not everyone is like that. Most of it, yes, right? So the same way over here as well, what Prabhupada is calling out is birth doesn't dictate everything, right? Yes, it gives you the basic, uh, what do you say, in the upbringing, there are few things that you get from your family, your surroundings, but that's not something that doesn't define the person, right? What defines him is what his or her actions are, and that's what he's calling out. It's not by birth. You have to. It's your decision. But if you do not even know that you're doing wrong, that's a very bad state. That's a horrible state. But yeah, okay. Going forward, there are different qualifications of human being in general. There is no question of birthright or community. One can acquire the respective qualifications by one's own efforts, and thus the son of a Vaishnava can become a Malecha, or the son of a Chandala can become more than a Brahman, all in terms of their association and intimate relation with the Supreme Lord. The meat eaters are generally called Malechas, but all meat eaters are not Malechas. Those who accept meat in terms of scriptural injunctions are not Malecha, but those who accept meat without restrictions are called Malecha. So this is another very interesting point. Like our Vedas, this is in the beginning of, that's what Vyasadeva ji was chastised by Sri Narad Muni, that, hey, what have you done, right? And I was just reading it again and again, and what I realized, when Narad Muni comes and praises him, that's how it comes. He comes to Vyasadeva and he praises. He doesn't praise him for anything. He just praises him for Mahabharata. He says, "Oh, your Mahabharata is amazing." He has written so many things. He's not praising that. He's just praising, hey, your Mahabharata is amazing. What you have done is great. Because Mahabharata is what all the good stories from all the Puranas, he put that in Mahabharata. It's great. And that's when it starts that, hey, but I'm not still not happy. Why you're not happy? Because you told meat eater, you eat meat. There are ways to eat meat. You'll be good. And people who wants to be just involve or indulge in karmic things, yeah, you go ahead, do it. These are the ways. Do you worship to Surya Dev, you'll get this. You worship to Indra Dev, you'll get this. All those elaborate you did, but how do they go back to Godhead? You haven't told them. You told them how to, go around in this material world again and again and again and again and again in the circle and loop. But you didn't tell them clearly that this is how you get out of there. You give glimpse here and there, but they don't get it. They don't get it because it's so vast. So in here, it's so out of those only, it's very rightly called out over here that if you are, every kind of person has has a chance to go back to Godhead. Some are slow, like in the school as well. Like myself, I was a slow kid. I didn't understand what the heck is happening there in the class. So it took me time to understand, right? But there were some few who were like as if they've already done the PhD. When they come, like they know everything, right? So now these are the people who doesn't know, right? It'll take them some time, so maybe some lifetimes, but that lifetime they have to start the journey. They have the conditioning has to happen. If they want to eat meat, they are so hell-bent they cannot just leave that. So okay, you want to do it with this. There is a way to do it. There is a mantras, and I remember in one of the lectures, I think Prabhupada said, I can't remember where exactly, but he mentioned that the mantra actually says that, hey, I'm killing you, you can kill me in the next life. It's like that. So that's the kind of a mantra. The meaning of the mantra is like that. So like it means like that.
So that it says that, hey, animal.
Yeah.
And my tongue is so uncontrollable.
Right.
I need to taste it.
Yeah.
But I think even while I'm living this lifetime, I give you full permission to take my life
in the next time. There we go. Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you. Yeah. That's see. So this is and this is now when someone does this, what it tells in his mind is in the back of his mind that yeah, there is a next life. First thing, right? There is a next life because most of the people they don't even know there is no next life. This is you live once. That's what they believe in. So one thing that comes in the mind, there is a next life, and second is that the karma will hit you back. When there is a karma, there is something called karma. If you do something, it's going to come back. So these two things in his back of his mind, he is eating it, and eventually he'll stop. He should stop. He will stop. But if they're not chanting these mantras, they will never stop because they don't know. They say, oh, this is just one life. Just have fun, whatever you have. You don't take birth again. So, but this mantra, what you call out, that actually make sure that you understand this, you go through that, and sometimes they will think about this and reflect upon this at what they have done and what they are supposed to do. So yeah, so that's one. Okay. So beef is forbidden in the scriptures, and the bulls and cows are offered special protection by followers of the Vedas. But in this age of Kali, people will exploit the body of the bull and the cow as they like, and thus they will invite sufferings of various types. The people of this age will not perform any sacrifice. The Malaysia population will care very little for performances of sacrifices, although performance of sacrifice is essential for persons who are materially engaged in sense enjoyment. In the Bhagavad Gita, performance of sacrifices is strongly recommended. The living beings, so about this particular paragraph, I wanted to reflect, but then I see that in the next paragraph, Prabhupada clearly calls it out, so we'll just read through that. The living beings are created by the Creator Brahma, and just to maintain the created living being progressively towards the path back to Godhead, the system of performing sacrifice is also created by Him. The system is that living beings live on the produce of grains and vegetables, and by eating such foodstuffs, they get vital power of the body in the shape of blood and semen. And from blood and semen, one living being is able to create other living beings. But the production of grains, grass, etc. becomes possible by rain, and this rain is made to shower properly by performance of recommended sacrifices. Such sacrifices are directed by the rites of the Vedas, namely Sam, Yajur, Rig, and Atharva. Now, in the Manusmriti, it's recommended that by offering of sacrifice on the altar of the fire, the sun god is pleased. When the sun god is pleased, he properly collects water from the sea, and thus sufficient clouds collect on the horizon and rain fall. After sufficient rains fall, there is sufficient production of grains for men and all animals. And thus, there is energy in the living beings for progressive activity. Now, in here, Prabhupada tries, calls out why exactly these sacrifices are done. These are not senseless ones. These are not like meaningless ones. Because most of us will say, why do you waste so much, so much resources, so many people sitting there, so much, you're burning so much wood, you're, burning so much this ghee. Why do you do that? Like, this is a waste of money and time. But this is what the actual reason is. Yeah, this is the actual reason. The reason is that that's one is going to please the please the god demigods, and they are going to work in a way they are supposed to. Otherwise, it all becomes they everything is disturbed. The water doesn't come, the rains won't happen. That's when the deserts it becomes a what do you say, the different calamities happen, and that's what the Adi Devak problems that start happening around. So if in here the example is sun god, so sun god will properly get the water from the sea and put it in the right place, and if you do the with the sacrifices, the Varun Dev also will be happy, and there won't be hurricanes or something like that. It'll all become very nice, and we have seen in Bhagavatam there are many stories, many kings who used to do the right thing at the right time, like right sacrifices. Their kingdoms used to have the grains and all without much of a difficulty. Without much of a difficulty, the grains would come, would be produced. Without much of a difficulty, the rains it'll not flood, it'll be ample rain, it'll not be flooded, but it'll be ample rain. So, okay, taking further, after sufficient rainfall, okay, the militias, however, make plans to install slaughterhouses for killing bulls and cows along with other animals, thinking that they will prosper by increasing the number of factories and live on animal food without caring for performance of sacrifices and production of grains. But they must know that even for the animals, they must produce grass and vegetables, otherwise, the animals cannot live. And to produce grass for the animals, they require sufficient rain. Therefore, they have to depend ultimately on the mercy of the demigods like the sun god, Indra, Chandra, and such demigods must be satisfied by performance of sacrifice. So all these sacrifices, Prabhupada is calling out, they must be satisfied. But in the end, Lord Chaitanya says that, in Kali Yuga, there is only one sacrifice that we need to do, only one yagna that we need to do, that is a Sankirtan yagna. That's good enough. You don't have to do anything else. Because these sacrifices that they're talking about, these are meant for, other yugas, not necessarily for Kali Yuga. In Kali Yuga, these sacrifices, for this, you need a very the piety, and the brahmanas, they have to have a proper ucharan, and they must be following all those there are set rules which a brahmana needs to follow in terms of so that they can go and do such yagna. And that's not it's there are very few which can do that, but the yagnas are happening all over the place, right? And so the results of that yagna could be no result at all, or it could be opposite as well, because there are so many offenses which are made in that yagna. The results could be opposite as well, and it could be maybe like there is no result. It's just a waste of time, kind of, as people rightly say so. So Sankirtan yagna, there has been no yagya, no Sankirtan yagya I have attended in last 8-9 years that I see that it has gone fruitless. Because if nothing else is when it's a fruit, what do you mean by fruit? By fruit, is it like I'll I do a kirtan at my home and next day I got a lottery or my pay scaling fees? No, that's not the fruit. The fruit is the in one of the like that's it's a general term that who is the richest person? The one who is satisfied. The richest person is the one who is satisfied with what he has. Otherwise, no one can, otherwise, even if you get a money like Elon Musk or Jeff Bezos, you won't be satisfied, right? So that's what you get. All this Sankirtana Yagya, you feel like you are under the shelter of Lord, you are at the feet of Lord, right? And you feel satisfied that you have everything. Once you are there at the feet of Lord, the love of God is there in your heart. You feel like you have everything that you need. You do not need anything else. So let's move forward. This material world is a sort of poison house. As we have several times mentioned, The demigods are the servants of the Lord who see to the proper upkeep of the prison house. These demigods want to see that the rebel living beings who want to survive faithlessly are gradually turned towards the supreme power of the Lord. Therefore, the system of offering sacrifices recommended in the scriptures. This is a very beautiful paragraph for many people, because I have been in my whole life I've been like doing yagyas and believing in, oh, we should do this, we should do that, these rituals, that rituals, right? But eventually, what is the meaning of all those rituals? It's not to just satisfy that God. It's actually, those are all servants of the Lord, and they are very uh, obedient servants. All these demigods, they're very obedient servants, because what they want us to do is, they are our best friends. They want us to go back to Godhead. And that's why, if they, many times that, oh, that God is angry. Why he's angry? Because you're not following what you are supposed to follow. You're supposed to go back to Godhead. For that, there are a few things that you need to do. That's why they are angry, right? You do this, and then they will make sure that you take to that path. You take to the path of the, to Krishna, and that's when you go back to the Godhead. But there is the steps, one at a time. This, the people who are in Krishna consciousness, they're at the last steps, I would say, right? They're at the last place where, now it's just, they know what they need to do. It's just they have to do. They know what to do. There are a lot of people. Most of the people over here, they don't even know what to do. They just, oh, there's this God, this demigod, we should just pray to him. No, 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 no need to go to other one. Why they're praying? Because they're scared, or because they want to make sure that their business is going fine. They want to make sure that, oh, their job is going fine. There are a lot of problems in the job. We pray to this, will be good, right? No problems in the job. So that's the thought process, right? But the Vaishnavas who are in Krishna consciousness, I think they know, like, what is the intent and where we want to go. But this one over here, this actually sums up for all those people which are religious, which follow the rituals, and that's not a wrong thing to do. But that's not the ultimate. They have to understand why exactly that is happening, why they have to do. Eventually, everything, those demigods are trying to push us or take us to Krishna. So the demigods, in one way, I can think like, there's an example that Prabhupada used to quote, that, our child is lost in a fair. Then, he was asking a lot of things, and suddenly he's lost, and someone comes and, hey, do you want, this? They give him a lot of different toys, but he doesn't want. He wants his dad. He wants his mom. And then someone comes and holds his hand and takes him to. So Guru is like that, and demigods also sometimes work like that, right? They just show that you have to go to this Guru, and he will hold your hand and take you to Krishna. So it may work that way, but it's all depend on what you are looking for when you go to demigods. What you are asking for. If you're just asking for wealth and fame and this, and that's what you will get. You won't get anything else. So yeah. Next, the materialistic men want to work hard and enjoy fruitive results for sense enjoyment. Thus, they are committing many types of sins at every step of life. Those, however, who are consciously engaged in the devotional service of the Lord are transcendental to all varieties of sin and virtue. Their activities are free from contamination of the three modes of materialism. For the devotees, there is no need for performance of prescribed sacrifices, because the very life of the devotee is a symbol of sacrifice. So this again, as I was mentioning earlier, that we don't have to, like, Sankirtana Yajna is the topmost yajna, and the regulative principles that we're following, that is, um, these are the best austerities that we can do in this Kali Yuga. It's very difficult to do, right? There is a whole industry. In fact, there is a multi-billion trillion dollar industry which is just built around those, enjoying those senses, right? Whatever we are doing, that against that, there is a multi-trillion dollar, and they're trying to pull us up. Come there, watch movie. It's all about having fun, intoxication, gambling. There is no place as beautiful as a casino. I haven't seen any place as beautiful, as wonderful, right, from a material perspective, as a casino. They are the most beautiful places. Wonderful. You go in there, it's like fear. You feel like you wanna gamble over there. It's very difficult to control yourself like that. And and the hotels, the best hotels are where it's above casinos only. It's next to casinos. So that's what it's a multi-trillion dollar, which is just to build around this whole area, this whole thing. So yeah. Uh, But persons who are engaged in fruitive activities for sense enjoyment must perform the prescribed sacrifices because that is the only means to get free from the reaction of all sins committed by fruitive workers. Sacrifice is the means for counteracting such accumulated sins. Demigods are pleased when such sacrifices are performed, just as prison officers are satisfied when the prisoners are turned into obedient subjects. Lord Chaitanya, however, has recommended only one yagna or sacrifice called the Sankirtan yagna, the chanting of Hare Krishna, in which everyone can take part. Thus, both devotees and fruitive workers can derive equal benefit from the performances of Sankirtan yagna. So yeah, so that's what it just sums up what we said. So there are a couple of things that I want to call out over here. Is one is that this the four legs that they've called out in. I think they will in next chapter they were going to be more detail around those four legs. That what those four legs are. It's like austerity, cleanliness, mercy, and truthfulness. And what they say is in Kali Yuga, all the three legs are gone. The only leg which is left is truthfulness, and that's what in next chapter I think I read in 1725 I think it's called out that it's trying to, and Kali is trying to break that leg as well, the truthfulness. Um, and is there anything else that I want to call out? No, that's it. And Hare Krishna. Any questions? So thank you. Yeah.
Okay. So you mentioned about like for Brahminical society, and in the Kali Yuga that you mentioned the fear of God.
Yeah.
Right? That is what we see, fear of God, that all the, even the sects and different religious systems, they all also talk about the fear.
Fear.
They don't talk love.
Yeah.
So, you want to say something?
Yeah,
how we
Prabhu, so,
develop that love?
right, so Prabhupada says that there are, I'm trying to think what those are. So there are different reasons why people go towards God. Some want opulence, some are just out of fear, some out of duty, some out of love. Right. Sorry? Hare Hare Krishna. Yeah, thank you.
First is that goes from material desire.
Yeah.
Those who have first they are distressed. Those who are
Right. Yes.
distressed, then those who have material desire, then search of knowledge,
Search of knowledge, yeah.
and the fourth is inquisitive.
Inquisitive. Right. So all are good, but at least they're going to God. But of course, eventually the idea is, to have a love of God. So to approach the Lord for His love. That's the ultimate idea. But these are still better than the ones who are not coming to God at all. They are still better than them, but they are not sufficient. That's not sufficient. But for them, the cycle is the journey is a little longer. The ones who are just looking for love of God, their journey is a little shorter. They are much closer. But the ones who are just approaching the Lord for just for out of duty or out of fear, they will if that raises a love of God within them, then yes, they will also reach to that point. Um, but I think main point again is that they have to reach to that point where the love of God is there. Just approaching by the fear or by for material opulence and all, that will not do. It has to be little more than that.
Fear also has some time.
Yes, absolutely.
Waking up in the morning.
Right.
That's why love is too far away. Just even to being in the fear, that is the first and reference, and that itself is not even started. Those are bhava, those are actual bhava. Right now, these are material fear.
Yeah.
That, and then once this is clean, then the purity starts, then bhava develops, then the journey starts. So
Yes, absolutely. Thank you for putting it in a very nice way. I mean, that's how it is. That's true.
Well, I had a question too. You mentioned that when Krishna was here, Kali Yuga was already there, but it was not coming out.
Yeah.
Is there a reference in the scripture? Like where exactly does it say? I never heard that before, that Kali Yuga was there. Because this is the chapter where Kali Yuga enters.
Right. So as like Kali is personified, there are many. There are few stories that I've heard like um, in the scriptures that Kali was always it's a personified like Kali, Dwapar, and Satyuga and Treta Yuga as a personified. They're always there. It's just that it's not their time, so they don't come. Like in there is a story that I remember one of the classes, Naveen Krishna Prabhu was calling it out. It's there in the Mahabharata. Neil and Damayanti, story of Neil and Damayanti. In there, the both of them, Kali and Dwapar, at the same time, they try to influence the king. Like they just wanted to. They had some animosity around Neil. Neil. So and there is that's what I'm trying to think where exactly I had read this or heard this that Kali could not come in there. First it was Krishna, then Pandavas, then Parikshit Maharaj. He just could not put his put his whatever he wanted to do. He could not do that. I'll check that. Prabhu. I don't recall where exactly I read it, but I read it somewhere within these books. Yeah.
Another point that I was thinking, really, couple of really nice points. The first one is how the tuition increases when you like people materially they don't invite
Yeah.
people, they are in their world.
Yeah.
As in when time grows, even tuition will grow. But that is where training not only instruction from he says that Bharat is even started very because now Bharat doesn't mean just India.
Right.
Because Bharat was
Yeah.
like every living entity, it is their duty to first perfect their life. It is not an optional thing. It is a duty. It's a mandatory thing. To perfect the life, and once you're perfected, then do what? Do vision? No. Then you preach.
Okay.
And you bring people to spiritual consciousness. That's why they sometimes call which preaching is waste of time. Because to get like do actual preaching.
Yeah.
But if anybody who is chanting Hare Krishna, who is reading Bhagavatam, it's their duty, it is taken out of instruction to go and tell the glories of Hare Krishna, to tell the glories of Srimad Bhagavatam to each and everyone who have not heard. So it is up to us to not let
Grow.
or not let our spiritual group
Right.
like you said, you are also a product of that. So that
Yeah.
mercy of the Lord is the only way. Is the only way this world will
Yeah. True. Prabhu.
So that was one point I like that point on that the importance of preaching. And it could be anything. Prabhupada also actually approved, so many things which people could have said, no, this is not Krishna consciousness. Like, food for so there is this program of prasad distribution.
Right.
So sometimes Prabhupada, because in Mayapur,
Akshay Trita, you say? No. Okay.
In Mayapur, when Prabhupada was he saw from his window that the dog was eating in a trash area. Yeah, after in place like everything on the road.
Right.
Dog is eating right off the rock. There is a human being also eating.
Right.
Prabhupada said, we start the Sravanam distribution. Nobody in the radius of 10 kilometers of any
Should go, yeah.
center should go on.
Yeah.
Some people can say, the distribution will only fit in their belly. What about their food? So we Prasadam should
Yeah.
always be accompanied by something or the other, preaching, Hare Krishna, Kirtan, that is a but anything you do, because some Krishna classes, there is a preaching program.
Right.
Like your instrument.
Yeah.
It is DJ party. It's a very creative party. It's gonna invite people who don't like to be in Kirtan environment, but they like to be in DJ environment. So you fuse it.
Yeah.
So and then you slowly they will say, oh, yeah, this is cool. This is nice. All of 100 people. One person out of 100
You turn this camera.
out of 100 people, if one person says, man, I like this Hare Krishna Mahamantra,
Right.
I like this Kirtan, that is the success.
Agree.
So that is one point of thinking. Second
Okay.
point was,
Your voice is it being recorded?
Because you made very good points, but this will not get recorded over there.
Okay. And I was just telling that how preaching is so important, and we should find all. Actually, there is a quote by Prabhupada that intelligently preaching Krishna consciousness. Okay, we have a practice to we have seen the standards. But at the same time, if you can find a creative way without compromising on the regulatory principles, without compromising the philosophy, if you can do it, it is an absolutely amazing thing. It can bring so many people to the process. So tonight's program, the DJ is Makar Sankranti program, so that is a perfect way to do preaching in that way. Then the second point I was thinking on this last text about demigod worship. So even though here it is saying that yes, if you are doing, but what is the meaning of sacrifice? Prabhupada says it. Meaning of sacrifice is to get rid of all your sins, right? It means for counteracting such accumulated sins. What are the sins? So in the first line, Prabhupada says that if somebody is only working hard for fruitive results, all they are doing is committing many types of sins at every step of life. So when they do sacrifice means you are not doing it for yourself. You are doing it now. It could be anything. Prabhupada, Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita 12th chapter also, if you can't work for Krishna, you work for somebody else. You do some donation, charity, whatever. At least you practice giving, because Navin Krishna Prabhu also said, in giving we receive. Right? So sometimes it is very easy that demigod worship. We say, oh yeah, I need this, I need that, and devotees also might fall in the trap. Vaishnavas also could fall in the trap of let me worship this demigod, let me worship that demigod. But I am practicing, I am chanting Hare Krishna 16 hours, I am initiated. But Queen Kunti also did. She was a pure devotee of the Lord, but she also worshipped Surya to get a son. And also before Krishna told about Govardhan Puja, all the Brajavasis were also worshipping Indra.
In fact, Krishna used to, in the morning, in the 10th canto, they say that in the morning, he used to, give water to Surya Dev and all those things, he used to do that.
Right.
Yeah.
So someone come and argue that, see, this is what, so we can be, there is nothing wrong in doing that.
Right.
Someone can argue. But that will just slow down our advancement. Then we are not putting faith in Krishna fully. Because in this verse where Prabhupada also quoted Bhagavad Gita, in that purport I was reading that all the yajnas you do, for the demigods, but who is the object? So he is saying Krishna, because he is the yajna purusha. All the sacrifices you do in the name of whatever demigod, but ultimately it's all going to Krishna, right? He's saying in the purport of that Krishna is the yajna purusha. And if somebody does, see here, the Supreme Lord, who is known as Yajna Purusha, or the personal benefactor of all the sacrifices, he is the one who gives the results. He is the master of all the demigods. So, demigods like Indra, Chandra, Varuna are appointed officers who manage material affairs in the Vedas. Blah, blah, blah. So, of course, they are appointed for those who are looking for material benefits. Then,
but even not for material benefit, even it is needed, right? Just for the sustainment, air, light, water supply. So that becomes the duty you have to be to offer, but not to offer demigods, directly offer to Krishna. Then it is indirectly going to.
I think again, it's like if we are we are Krishna, we know the truth, right? For us, doing the demigod worship, it's what you said, Prabhu, is absolutely right. Like that is, then it's a deviation. right? It will be, our progress will be slow because we are putting our minds into too many things. But the people who do not know this truth, they are already used to do that demigod worship. How I think that we need to tell them is that you just change the bhav, right? What you're doing with them, just change the bhav. That will automatically bring them to over here.
Yeah, for them it's fine.
Right.
For them,
It's
if they are doing demigod worship, yeah, continue to do, but chant Hare Krishna.
Yes.
Continue to do demigod worship, come to the temple.
Right.
Continue to do demigod worship, read Bhagavad Gita.
Right.
That is fine.
Yeah.
But for devotees, I'm saying.
Yeah, devotees we should not.
Sometimes you will see, because that's why I'm giving examples, that sometimes they will use that as the evidence
Yes.
to do demigod worship, and I have seen.
But I just told you the quoted ad. That's exactly what was told to me. Like when I was, to make me, believe that we should do, I should do some yajna or something. I was told this thing.
Correct. So we are forgetting. We are in the line of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Gaudiya Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya. This is the line. This is the disciplines that gives the pure love for Godhead. Even in this line, if we are going, for some processes which is not gonna give us a pure bhakti, then what is the use of this opportunity? We are wasting our only opportunity.
Yeah.
It is same as same as you get admission at OSU, which is a nice prestige university, right? OSU is a nice university, but then you say, let me go to the community college. Okay, I will learn this subject. But you are in this, you can make your career, but still I want to go in some high school. So, if intelligent person, if they know that no, this is my goal is to get pure love for Godhead. It's okay if situation is not great in my life. I don't have to do any sacrifice. I don't have to do any yajna for demigods. I can pray to Krishna. There is nothing wrong in asking Krishna. But at the same time, the goal of this parampara is to achieve pure love for Godhead.
Right.
If that is missed,
Yeah, so demigod sacrifice is not condemned, but as long as one does not forget the ultimate purpose of it, that it is to satisfy the achutta, it is to satisfy the infallible Supreme Lord Krishna. But it's not possible to, it already was in forgetfulness, and it was happening in even the other yugas as well. So, but in the Kali Yuga, it's not even at the, and also the results from the demigods are so attractive, and then they bewilder mind so easily. So it is not possible for ordinary people to.
Yeah, I remember there's one story about, I think it was in Treta Yuga or Dwapar Yuga, I don't remember. There was one king, I think it's in here as well, but it's in much detail in Padmapuram that there was a king. He got so much in love with the Urvashi Apsara. She left him and he became mad. He was one of the best kings of those times, but he just went berserk, and he was going all over the place. He did yagyas just to get Urvashi. And eventually he did, and that's what he herself came. She said, "Why are you mad or what? You should not do this." And she tried to put sense in him. A lot of people try to put sense in his the rishis and munis from his kingdom. He just wouldn't listen. No, I want to Urvashi. He did yagya just to get Urvashi. So so what he's saying is right. That it's the results are sometimes so look so good that it's difficult to get away from that.
Yeah, I was just thinking on that as well, that Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita chapter 2 text 53 that the flowery language of Vedas, which is this, you do this, you get this, and when you do this you actually get it, you're like, wow, I will chant Hare Krishna, but let me do this also now. So my material life increases, Saraswati will be pleased, I get knowledge, Lakshmi ji will be pleased, I get rich. So he said, no, when your mind is no longer disturbed by the flowery languages of the Vedas, and when it's fixed in the trance of self-realization, then you will attain the divine consciousness. So, if the goal is to achieve divine consciousness, so let's spend more time on that versus...
that is possible only when mind, we are completely pure. And if it's not pure, material contamination will come looking at the, wow, such opulence. So, let me enjoy that's supposed to. So, Prabhu, you mentioned one story from Mahabharata. The
Neil
theme,
and
I mean, maybe I heard, but I don't remember. I'm looking from that.
Prabhu, this is the story. This actually is in Puranas as well, as I told earlier. Like all the stories in the Mahabharata, they are from different Puranas. That's why the whole Puranas were made, and then we realized that this Shudras or they don't have access, Shudras or women and all, they don't have access to these Puranas. So we made this Mahabharata, which is Mahabharata, which has all the stories from these Puranas put in here. So this in Mahabharata, the context is when Pandavas were in exile. Right? They were in exile, so he was lamenting. Yudhishthira was lamenting, and Arjuna had gone for to get weapons and all. Bhima also had gone for one or 2 years. He also had gone for some tapasya. So behind it was only Yudhishthira, and even Nakul said almost everyone had left. Yudhishthira and Draupadi were together, and he used to lament that why it is happening to me. There's so many things that have happened to us. Like this, she's such a chaste woman, she's such a pious woman, and why this is happening to me? She was, they tried to disrobe her in front of so many people. Almost the whole, one of the best people in the Bharatvarsha, she was tried. So why this is happening? So many things are happening. It's only happening to me. No one else has ever faced that. So when they were in exile, a lot of rishis and munis used to come to visit them. So they used to have a lot of discussions, and all those discussions are recorded in Mahabharata. They are amazing discussions. And one of those discussions, when he asked, Yudhishthira asked the Muni, Rishi Muni, that, why is this? He said, no, this has happened before as well. You're not the first one. He's facing all this. So then he tells a story. So this story about Neil and Dharani that actually in one of the home programs, Naveen Krishna Prabhu actually called it out. So it just questioned up in my mind that it's amazing. Brilliant. And then I realized in South, there has been a movie. There is such a wonderful movie, a wonderful story. It's working movie. And from the start till end, there's so many ups and downs, and so many things to learn. And in there it says, how it starts is that Damayanti is very beautiful, Neil goes to his Swayamvar, and but God also goes in there, some of them got go in there. And they wanted to marry her, but eventually they tried a lot of things, but eventually she gets married to Neil. And they're okay, demigods are okay. But then this Kali and Dwapar, they are coming, they said, how come you did not get? They were angry with him that how come in the presence of a demigod, he won this swamp. That should not be done. So they built an animosity around him. But he was very pious, so they both went to his kingdom to see that how they can just make him suffer or influence him. And they tried a lot of years. So after 11-12 years, he got just one very small thing that he did not want to speak or something like that. And just because of that, they entered in him, and after that the downfall starts. And that's when the whole story is. But even in that downfall, that's what I want to call that out, that would have been a long story. So in the downfall itself, they never left their dharma. They had, that lady had just one piece of fruit, right? And that king had no clothes at all. So he took half clothes of that lady and gave him half and took the half and left her. But in all of this, they went through so much. They never left their dharma in any situation. So that's something which is only can happen in either Treta or Dwapar or Satyuga. It cannot happen in Kali. It's very, very rare. So there are a lot of it's a very interesting story about that. So that's where the Kali Yuga and Dwapar, they both enter in different stages. Like Dwapar Yuga enters in the he plays this gamble. What do we call this? Dice. So in the dice, he enters in the dice, and Kali Yuga, I forgot where exactly he enters, but he also enters in gold. Not in gold, I think. There was something else. I think he's that's one of his resting place. But in this case, it was something different. I forgot now. So
We can discuss his own purpose.
yeah, but yeah, I'm gonna watch.
ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की
जय।
श्रीला प्रभुपाद की
जय।
जय। गौर प्रेमानंदे
हरि
हरि हरि बोल।